Hey, welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan. That's not Dom C. What up, Egghead?
What's up? How you doing, everybody? Jets Chaos here. I killed Dom C.
Boom, dunzo. Dom's running a little bit late. His son made the All-Star game. So daddy's got to do a little bit more coaching. It's totally fine. We respect it, love it. Dom will be joining us just a little bit here. We're excited to have Jeremy on, talk a little bit about Jets OTAs starting. We can get some thoughts about like how the schedule kind of played out because there was a lot of speculation going into last week's show. And then even tomorrow's Tuesday Talkin' Jets panel, we didn't know what the schedule was actually going to be until like literally like an hour after the show aired. O'Leary got the tweet. He's like, "Oh, I know what the schedule is." And then boom, drops it. Talkin' Jets O'Leary first on the schedule release. Gotta love it. I see Infrared is in here, says, "Let's go. Go Jets." Harlan, greetings, fellow Jet fans. And Jet says, "Hope everyone is doing well." Zachary says, "I can't believe they put Jet porn on Twitter today. Crazy, LOL." Talking about, did you see that throw? The throw of Rodgers to Garrett to touchdown.
I love it, and it also drives me crazy because I just want the season to start.
Dude, I'm chomping at the bit. Like everything that comes out from the Jets, whether it's like, Sauce said this or Roger said that, and it's like, man, I just can't wait for football to start. And like, I mean, literally since the season ended at the end of 2022, or the season of 2022, we have been in holding formation. Who is our quarterback going to be? To like, okay, we got Rodgers. We can't wait. We're all hyped up for the season. To like, here he is. It's right on the end. We like end immediately after the first game. And then we just wait the entire time. So we've been like waiting in limbo for like 2 years for this season. So I'm like chomping at the bit. Zachary, if we're going to keep watching all this stuff on Jets Twitter, you have to apologize because I'm on the edge. Any minute it could go. Boycott comes in, says first. Cronons on. Cheers. Cameron says call-in show. I haven't done the call-in show basically since the draft, I think. I'm going to hold off on the call-in show until the end of like the summer and take a little bit more of a hiatus over on the Talkin' Jets stuff or Jets talk stuff. I'll put out videos as like, things pop up and stories come out, but give myself a little bit of a little break here. Matthias says, there he is. Chaos. Thumbs up. Jets football.
Good to see you, Matthias.
Blitzcruise in here. Andrew says, whenever I join the show, or whenever I join before the show, I always have to refresh the page to get it to actually go. Always miss the first little bit. LOL. I know, because we're never on time. It's like, oh, okay, it's 9:05. Oh, now the stream's starting. But like, do you refresh it at 9:01 and then 9:02 and then 9:03, assuming we're just going to be on? Maybe we just got to be on earlier, or we have a longer countdown.
Yeah, I was going to say longer countdown. You do like a 3-minute countdown.
Matthias says the greenhouse is in the house. Is the greenhouse in the house? Sure, why not? I don't know what that means. Maybe Matthias is the greenhouse. We like it.
I don't know. Maybe.
You could be the greenhouse. Blitzcrew says, we have the NFL version of blue balls at this point. Thank you, Blitzcrew, for catching on to what I was laying down before. I was on the, I guess I was going a little bit further than that and saying I might need a new pair of pants. Harlan comes in, says, yes, Talkin' Jets. You need a break. Talkin' Jets will keep going. It's the Jets talk side of my stuff that I'm like going to dial it back a little bit. I got golf season in full swing right now. Focusing on all that, all the good stuff. Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna put a little poll question in there.
A lot of high maintenance golfers. They gotta like take a lot out of you.
Oh yeah, my new job that I'm doing is a lot less stress because I'm not overseeing 50 people anymore. So like, I'm not getting calls 7 days a week because golf is a 7-day operation. Now I'm working like Monday through Friday, no weekends. So actually, this is the first time I've had back-to-back days off with Becca in like almost ever. Like other than like the winters
Wow.
when I'm not like, yeah, like I never get weekends off.
That's amazing. You probably don't know what to do with yourself on a Saturday.
Oh, dude, I feel like I have so much free time. And then I also have 2 kids, so it's incredibly hard to make content anyway, especially when there's not like a lot going on. I don't want to rack my brain like too crazy hard.
Yeah, you got to start doing like the Gymboree thing and all the fun stuff.
So I'm going to throw a little poll question on chat. You guys can let us know if you're hanging out in here, if you'd be interested in this. Would you do a Talkin Jets golf outing? We've been talking about this for the last few years, but I've I've planned and sort of accidentally crammed my schedule too much by having 2 kids the last 2 summers, so I haven't been able to do a golf outing. And we've been talking about doing a golf outing for a long time. So if you guys are interested in that, just vote in the poll question. It's just something that we've been kicking around. Probably, I like the idea of doing a golf outing like in the summer prior to the start of the season, because once golf outing season starts like in September and like football season starts, it's just a lot harder to try and organize stuff. So if we did something, it'd probably wind up being over the summer. Matthias says, so do we now stay tight with wide receivers we have, or do we pick up another one, wide receiver camp cuts? Jeremy, what do you think the wide receiver room, where do you think we're at? Do you think this is what the room is going to be? Do you think we're going to add someone else? Do you see someone in the future beyond like the immediacy of like heading into training camp?
I think they're looking. I don't think they necessarily feel they have to, but I think if somebody gets cut that they like, or there might be someone out there they already are eyeing, I don't think it's going to be a big move. Like, don't expect it to be a big splash. It's not going to be a big money move, but you might see them at least bring in another boundary receiver just to have in camp and to take a look at and see, how the younger guys stack up. Like, how does Brownlee stack up against a veteran guy that's proven in the NFL that they might be able to bring in and make a decision that way, create some competition?
Now, do you think that Brownlee makes the roster? This was a conversation that I've had with a few people now. And when I start going through like how many receivers I think we keep, obviously you got Garrett Wilson, you got Mike Williams, you got Corley, you got Lazard. They're all here guaranteed. And then you start getting into the Gibsons and the Irv Charles and the Brownlees. And then, obviously I don't think any of us are expecting Cobb to come back at this point. But that would be 7 wide receivers, unless I'm missing someone in there. Do you think that's the 7 we keep? Do you think we keep 6? And if so, is there a player you would think might not make it?
I think we went with 7 last year and it surprised us all. I think that it's a possibility, but if somebody's going to go, in case we do pick up someone, obviously I think Brownlee's in a lot of trouble, but I don't think he's definitively the guy that's out. I think it will be a fair competition. I think now that we got Corley, it might be Gibson that's in trouble. Can we trust him? He had the great return the first game, but after that, if you go games 2 to 17, Xavier Gibson, it's not like he did a ton to secure a job this year.
Yeah, no, we saw a lot, like even in maybe not so much preseason, but definitely in training camp when we were at the practices, Gibson and Hardman, the two of them, dropped a lot of punts and kickoffs throughout camp. So it wouldn't shock me. I do sort of think, like, obviously Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams and Corley, those are our 3. But then when I start thinking beyond that, it's like, okay, well, Lazard is kind of the backup for like Mike Williams, that bigger bodied, might be able to help you block on the outside type receiver. Then you've got Gibson, who could kind of back up Corley. And then you're at this next point of like, okay, is Brownlee I feel like Brownlee's probably closer to Mike Williams, honestly, like from like a size perspective. But then, is that enough to overcome the special teams prowess of Irv Charles? And if you're only going to keep 6, which is kind of where I thought we'd wind up going. I like Brownlee. I'd like to keep him on the team, but if we could stash him on the practice squad, I think I'd feel a little bit more comfortable about that. I don't really want to lose Irv Charles. I think special teams is going to be sneaky important this, maybe not even sneaky important, but just like really important this year with how the kickoffs have changed. I think you are going to see a lot more scoring on those plays, and I think it will be a higher priority.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that Irv Charles, if we didn't pick up Oliver, I would say that Irv Charles was 100% making the roster. The only thing that makes it at all a question, is the fact that we picked up somebody who could replace Hardy. But Irv Charles looked so good on special teams last year, like really an asset for the team. So it's going to be a tough decision. I mean, but again, we say it every year, at least the last couple of years. It's a good problem to have when you have to like literally can't protect. You protect 53 guys, and there's 54. Number 55 are guys you're worried are going to go somewhere else. That means you have a lot of talent.
It's a good problem, right? We heard people after the draft say, "Oh, well, the Jets may not have gotten a day one starter." It's like, is that a problem or is that like a good thing because our roster is like not requiring us to start players anymore? So I agree with you. I think that could be a big thing. Harlan says, not a golf fan anymore. Many of the good golfers have retired. Tiger was still playing. He's hanging around. Not as good as he was. He's out there. Alan says, evening, guys. It's bowling season for me. I don't golf. Bowling's a lot of fun. I don't know if you could, I guess you could do a bowling outing. Like just local bowling alley, just get a ton of people to go out. That'd be interesting. I like bowling.
It's always a good time. I've never not had a good time bowling.
Yeah. The worst part is like you just got to make sure you eat your chicken fingers or mozzarella sticks or whatever you're having. You eat them with your like opposite hand, not the hand you throw the bowling ball with, because then you wind up slipping and then it's a whole issue.
Well, I'm
Zachary
a professional.
says,
I'm a professional at that. I'm a professional eater.
Professional eater. Zachary says, who are more excited to see truck someone, Corley or Braylon Allen? I think because of the shock of the size, Corley would be my pick. I am really excited for Braylon Allen, though. Jeremy, do you have an answer for this one?
Yeah, I mean, he asked me that. That's funny because I was already saying I expect it probably to be Corley that it's going to happen before it happens with Braylon Allen because we just don't know how many reps he's going to get. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Corley is definitely going to be in there right away the first time we go to a 3 wide receiver set. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's hard to pick which one I'm more excited about. Either one will pump me up and I'll be going crazy when it happens. So
I feel like Corley's contract, like the reason why, at least to my knowledge, he has not signed his rookie deal yet. I feel like that's because he's the most important of the draft picks that we've had, whereas like the number 1 overall pick has really been like our focus the last few years. With Olu, it's like, we know you're not starting. Like, we'll get to you at some point. But Corley, it's like, we know you're starting. So I feel like there's going to be some like offset language discussion that they're trying to figure out there. Any thoughts on like why he may not have signed yet?
It's really strange and surprising because there's not much to negotiate. There really isn't. I mean, even in the first round, there's so little. You're talking about language about what if you're cut, what if you're not. I believe it's even less after the first round. There's less complication. So I don't know. Everybody else signed for pretty much the same amount. It was pretty standard. But you're right. I mean, his agent has the most leverage because we need him in camp and we need him ready to go. Especially with Michael Williams' status, kind of in the unknown. So maybe that agent is taking advantage of that. I don't think it has anything to do with Corley as much as it has for the agent doing his job and trying to get, every dollar he can.
Matthias says, how about a food outing and chaos as the guide? Well, what kind of food, if you had to do like a food outing? Is there
we would definitely do Italian food, and we would go through Brooklyn and through the city for sure. I mean, or we could just do we could do the all around. Let's jump all over the map culturally wise. Like we'll go to a great Jewish deli, we'll go to a great Italian restaurant.
It's like Epcot in New York City, or
right.
Sacramento.
I'll do the world tour. We could do Coney and Nathan American experience. Yeah, we could do it all. Great Chinese food. We could go to Chinatown. I mean, you give me time, I could plan anything.
Crossfire comes in and says, what's up, everyone? What do we think about Justin Jefferson visiting the Jets today? Crossfire, he didn't visit the Jets. He was in Florham Park, which is a location, not the Atlantic Health Center, which is where the Jets train. So the Vikings owner, I believe, or GM or someone lives in Florham Park. So that's my understanding, is that they're trying to work on a long-term deal with the Vikings, not like the Jets could potentially be getting him. Jeremy, any thoughts on some of the rumors that were getting kicked around social media earlier today?
Yeah, I wish, but it's unfortunately, we're just not going to see anything like that happen. There's just I don't see any realistic path to any big name guy like that. I mean, it just doesn't fit in the plan and what we've done. I think we've already put our chips in. I don't think there are any more chips to put in.
John says, "Hey fellas." Hi, John. Alan says, "Drop the milk thumb." Milk thumbs. Yeah. Smack him for us. Hit him around. Wild Wave. Ryan, Jeremy, my guys.
Wild Wave. I'm going to do a wild wave for him.
See you. we were talking about that the other day. I was like, so is it like wild wave like the ocean, or like wild wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube band? So anytime I see it come up, that's going to be the signature. It's just going to be way.
I know that Snowball's out there when I did that, and he's saying that was Jeremy when he was looking for parking lot J9 at MetLife.
King Blaze says Justin Jefferson not coming to the Jets would be too much cap space. We would be in trouble in the future. Well, that sounds like a problem for future fans, not for like now when we got a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You know, maybe we can hold off and wait until we, find that next quarterback that's been eluding us for 50 years. King Blaze, if there was an opportunity to get Justin Jefferson and all we had to do is worry about the cap, I'm going to not worry about the cap and we're going to figure it the hell out. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. As long as we don't have to give away the whole team. If it's just about money, I think a guy like that, you say screw the future. Like you go all in and you roll the dice. If you put Garrett Wilson and Justin Jefferson on the same team with that defense and Brees Hall,
it'd be stupid. It'd be absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy town. Billy coming in. Billy says, I remember when bowling used to be primetime big. So like I was never like primetime big bowling. I was not alive for that. I don't think, at least. My like experience with bowling was going through like late elementary school, early middle school in like a little bowling league. Lots of fun. Got a bowling ball at the end of it. You know, a little red, white, and blue bowling ball. Pretty proud of that one. And we, each year we had the same kind of like 3 guys that would play in it. And then outside of that, like the summer camp that I worked for used to do bowling. And they're like, okay, counselors get to bowl for free. So it's like, all right, I get me and like all my buddies would go out. We just have like, there'd be a ton of like, it wasn't the campers that would go. It was like the siblings of the campers that had like aged out of the camp would go to like, I think it was like 7 p.m. bowling or 8 p.m. bowling or something like that. I've never broken 200 though. I've always gotten like, I'm a consistent like probably 170 to like 195. And for whatever reason, I just can't get to 2.
I think I broke 150 like once in my life.
Ah,
Like I'm a chaotic bowler, man. I just chuck the ball.
I cannot imagine why you would be named Jets Chaos without a chaotic throwing motion.
I've had the manager come to me and say, "Look, you gotta let go of the ball a little sooner.
You got to come to no more throwing bowling balls through the ceiling. Why are you using an 8-pound ball? Go use a 15-pound ball, Jeremy. Come on."
I know.
Zachary says, also, we have 91 on the roster, but have 90 signed, so we will have to release someone. So I guess I don't know. Whoever 90 is.
Yeah, some guy.
Not
there's some undrafted free agents they already let go, and then they picked up replacements already. So they've already made moves like that. There's plenty of no-name guys. I wouldn't mind if they part ways with Willie Tyler. I wouldn't be surprised or care.
Crossfire comes in with an interesting super chat. Let's take this and break it down. Using all the Jets content creators, build a Jets roster to the best of your abilities. Man, that would be interesting. So, like, I feel like Green Bean would be a really good, like, either D-end, like, attacking a quarterback, like, just a snarling mess with his, like, 1-bar, like, helmet that he's got, or, like, blocking. I feel like he would be a lot of fun with.
The only place you could stick me is guard or interior defensive line. Like, just where do you stick
it's okay. We need offensive linemen. That's solid. I feel like Matt, with his size, should be like a tight end. I feel like the speed might not be there for Matt.
Yeah. I mean, he did have an interesting tryout tape for quarterback, but
he did.
But I agree, he'd be a nice big target. I kind of imagine you as a quarterback. I don't know if you play quarterback, but you are that.
See, I don't have like huge hands, so like gripping a ball would be a little tough. I'm like a good size for like a running back or a slot receiver, maybe a corner, something along those lines. I'm fast. I could hit someone.
Yeah, maybe 𝐒𝐿 would be a quarterback.
We need someone tall. Matt could be a quarterback. He had the quarterback tape.
Yeah, he had the quarterback. He's the only one that put together tape. I mean,
I feel like we could have a fun defense. I feel like Tyson could knock the shit out of some people. Blewett too. Blewett would be a blast.
Yeah, I see 𝐷𝐲𝐚𝐬 as center.
Yeah, just like stout, understands like where guys could be coming from. That would be a really good one. I don't remember how tall Buffalo Jet fan is. We met him 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's like 6'3", I think. He's
6'3".
Like 6'3".
Okay, so he's bigger. So maybe he's one of our like receiver guys, potentially, or maybe he's the other tight end. Him and O'Leary, bookend tight ends.
Yeah, I don't know or edge because he's an athlete. He's like a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, I was gonna say he does like karate or something like that.
Yeah, he's got that Will McDonald thing.
He's probably jumping out of pools and stuff, like waist deep, jumping over cars.
What do you do at Richie? You throw him at cornerback or something? Richie
would be pretty good. I feel like Richie's probably got some wheels on him. I would say probably like a receiver and corner. Like Richie and I at like corner, because neither one of us is like super tall. We're like right around the same height. I'm like 5'9". He's probably plus or minus an inch. Who are we missing? I don't know how tall Ian is, but he seems like he's probably pretty athletic. He could be our quarterback.
Yeah, he looks like the type of guy that might be a quarterback, actually. Yeah, when you think about it.
He's a good-looking dude, too. I feel like plugging him as the face of the franchise might not be a bad thing. any of our ugly mugs going on there, we're not selling many jerseys.
Yeah, and you could stick, I'm sure you could stick Nick Shine on the line.
Between you and him and the belly bump that we had at the draft party, you guys would make perfect offensive linemen. It would be rock solid.
Dom C would have to like tell us what to do and everything.
Oh, yeah, 100. You guys would make perfect guards on either side of Dom C, and Dom C's probably losing his mind. He's like, I better get some good tackles in here. Now I got to think. Let's say Green Bean's got to be one of the tackles. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Yeah. I feel like Blewett could be a running back. Blewett feels like he could just run through people. He's a pretty good size too. He's probably like 6'1"
Yeah, and if he played both ways, he'd be a linebacker. He's smart.
We'd probably have to have guys play both ways. I don't think there's any way. Like, I don't think we have enough creators to, or at least that I'm aware of, to make a full team.
Boy Green would be on the defensive line somewhere, or
he would be he'd be scrappy. Well, I don't know where you plug him in.
Pretty high. You see him on Twitter with those kicks?
Gosh, can you kick people? I don't know if you can kick people. Put him and Nania on either side of the line. Just like, all right, you got to get to each other behind the quarterback. Attack. I feel like Nania could be a safety. I feel like he's a smart dude. Analyze the defense in front of him. 𝐒𝐮 could probably be like, 𝐒𝐮's not. I don't think 𝐒𝐮's real big, but he's probably like, he's another one of those like I would say him and Nania as our safeties.
Yeah, I don't know what we would do. 𝐃𝐨𝐦 would be the field goal kicker, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even think about 𝐾𝐨𝐦. Where would he's probably like me, him, and Richie are all like closer in height, I guess. I think Richie and I are a little taller.
Yeah,
not good. We wouldn't make a very good basketball team. I'd say that much.
I think I agree with your assessment of Richie as a speedster, like slot receiver, quarterback, like really quick. Really good. His friend Jack, his partner Jack. Jack would be a good receiver. He's a tall dude. Yeah.
That'd be fresh. And Jack and I have the same shoes, so we got to get Richie in the same shoes, and then all three receivers could be like rocking the same shoes. Great. The Adidas with the green stripes. Whew, it's hot. And then, are we missing any other content, guys? I'm trying to rattle through my head right now.
Gunny. We got Gunny.
Oh,
that's our middle linebacker.
He's got to be a linebacker. That dude, like him and 𝐒𝐿. I feel like 𝐒𝐿 could be a linebacker too. Like two ex-military guys.
Yeah,
they could do it. They figure it out.
Gunny gives you the toughness. You get onto an on-field fight, you just go wherever Gunny is. You're gonna be.
Oh yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not gonna be a guy picking fights with other people. I know my role. I'm not a big dude. I can kick. I'm halfway decent at like punting, so maybe I could do that. Outside of that, I think is that the majority of people? Let's see if
we got other guys. We got Jet Italy. Italy Jet.
Italy Jet. Maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, he can get in there somewhere. Maybe be a fullback or a running back. You got Porto. He's a tall dude. Porto's really tall.
He looks pretty lanky. That'd be pretty.
And
good.
what's his face? The guy from what's that Jet channel? Turbulence. He's a big guy. He always wears the muscle shirt, so he's a big, strong guy.
See, we got some muscles there. Like it
there, yeah.
Got some people. We could build a halfway decent team. Alan says O'Leary is an ex-receiver, Dom interior offensive line, Gunny for cornerback. Nania can run. Yeah, Nania can definitely run. I've seen him run. And in the parking lot, we were throwing the football around. Me, him, and Blewett. He's got some wheels on him.
All right.
Jet Central for quarterback. Green Bean, tight ends coach. Yeah, maybe Green Bean isn't a player, and he's just like the wily old coach.
He'd be so offended because he's so old.
He's not so old. He's just
I'm
like
older than him.
You're older than him. It's the beard. That's what it is. It's just the beard is so white. When we were making the monkey shirts, the Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Speak No Evil, I asked them to make Green Bean's hair white, not just the beard. And he goes, "My hair's not gray." I was like, "I just assumed everything was gray because the beard's gray." And he was offended by that. I was like, "I'm so sorry, Green Bean. I didn't mean it." There was no ill intent there. I don't look at the top of your head very frequently.
That was the first thing my wife said to him when she met him. She said he covered his beard and she took his hat off for her. And she goes, "Oh, you're good looking. You're good looking." He was like, "Well, thank you."
Thank you for that. Steven says 91st player is an international player. He doesn't count towards the 90. I did not know that.
Oh, that's really interesting. Steven Engel knows stuff, man. Let me tell you something. This guy's been around for a long time.
If you ever Steven Engel guy. We like him.
You have a rule thing. You need to know like anything like that. He's out in Jersey. He's I think he's a postman.
That's pretty cool. I got a few buddies that are postmen or mailmen. Mailmen. Billy says, "I don't know what happened to NFL kickers. Every one of them used to be money. Now it's like finding a good kicker is 1 in 10 business." I mean, I guess maybe you feel like you see more missed kicks because you do, just because the extra point is further back. I don't know if it's so much that they're missing more field goals. Because, like, I mean, aside from, like, Vanderjagt and, like, Vinatieri, like, we saw – those were two of, like, the best kickers of all time for the last, like, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. Vanderjagt wasn't that long, I guess. But, like, Vinatieri's been around forever. Janikowski, like, had the monster leg. I don't know where he ranks as far as, like, accuracy and that sort of stuff. It took us forever to find a kicker. I'll say that much. Like, basically, once Nick Folk was gone, I think it was Folk or Feely. Who was our most recent? I think we had Myers.
Folk was the last good one where we were all pissed afterwards.
Yeah. We had Myers for a little bit. Was it Myers to Folk was the weird point, or was it Folk, then Myers? I think it was Folk, then Myers. We had Myers for 1 year, and then we had a stretch of, like, ridiculous punters and kickers until we got Zerline.
Yeah, horrendous. Greg the Leg has ended the bad streak.
Ugh, I love me some Greg the Leg. Dom says, "I was all county center back in the day." Oh, see? Look, Jeremy, did you know Dom was a center?
I had no idea. I just nailed that.
Dude, talk about a scout, Jeremy. Dom, we were like, yo, Dom would be a great center. And he'd have to put up with Nick Shine and Jeremy on either side as the guards. It'd be absolute chaos.
I think I just noticed that it may have been in my head that he was a center only because he gets very technical when he talks about like Tippmann being big and you have to be low to the ground. Like he said a lot of things that shows like a lot of knowledge about the position.
So yeah, there you go. Dom, and the center position is like a highly knowledgeable position as well. Like you have to know what's going on the other offensive lineman, and Dom's a smart mother trucker.
Yeah, he's also bigger than people think. Not in the bad way. I mean, he's big.
No, he is. When I saw him, I met him. I think was it the first time I met him? When we went and got those the Italian hot dogs or whatever. Was that before? one of the games, or was that?
That was before the Monday Night Football game, before the
Okay,
Chargers game.
it was
So
that
that
one.
may have
Okay,
been the
so
first
I'm
time you
pretty
met
sure
him. That
that
may
was
have been.
I think that was the first time I met Dom C. And I remember thinking, like, wow, he's a lot bigger than I thought. Like, he doesn't look like super big on camera.
Yeah. You met him. You may have met him briefly at the Ravens game, that opener for the Jet
Oh, yeah,
Lounge. You
yeah,
may have met him briefly. But you know
yeah.
what? Honestly, I didn't realize how big he was until the last time I hung out with him. Like, the last time I hung out with him, I said, "Whoa, you're bigger than I think of you in my head." Like, so I don't know what it was, but it takes a couple of times to realize he's that big.
To recognize it. It's a compliment. Frank from Flatbush as a guard. Yeah, we got a pretty decent offensive line then.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
Frankie, if anyone was going to take the role of coach, you know, even if it's player coach or whatever, it's like you know that Frankie's going to be a coordinator or some kind of coaching role. So,
oh, for sure. Alan says 𝐒𝐿𝐵 was a first-round kicker. Is he the only first-round kicker? That was insane. I mean, we took a second-round kicker.
Tampa Bay traded up to take a kicker, and I think they
cut him.
They did it. They cut him. I mean, and then a few years later, they took a guy in the 6th round that we all liked, and they took him even though they had a guy signed to a big contract. They're like obsessed with kicker.
Honestly, I always felt like if your team is in a really good spot, if you think there's like a generational kicker or a guy that's just going to like kickers are always the highest scoring players on your team, like almost always, I think. Between extra points and field goals, just like if you're telling me I could get someone that's going to guarantee me 50, 55-yard field goals consistently, like 𝐒𝐻𝐿 worth his weight in gold. Him and Morstead from a special teams perspective, I am a very large proponent of like scoring on special teams, and like it's huge.
I mean, look, if you're old enough to have lived for that, playoff game against Pittsburgh in 2004, like if you're old enough to remember that, you never forget the importance of kicker after that. Like, so there's teams like the Vikings have lost that way. Obviously the Bills lost the Super Bowl that way. I mean,
the
if
Bears
you're one of those,
had the double doink.
Yeah,
playoff
I mean,
game.
if you're one of those kind of fans, you can't be a fan of football. Your team go through that and not understand the value of the kicker position.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like we've gone through it the last bunch of years before 𝐒𝐻𝐿, where it's like, man, we just can't kick a field goal. Which honestly, until you get a good team, it's probably worth having dog shit as kickers, because then you wind up losing games. Like, not that you're trying to tank, but like if you're a GM and you're like, oh, I just have a shit kicker, like guess what? Crunch time, whoops. I guess I got an extra loss on the belt. Like now that we've got a good team, like it feels good to have like good special teams guys.
Yeah, I almost felt that way. The first year with Zach Wilson, when we went into that season, everyone was crying about tight ends. And they were crying about we had no kicker. And I'm thinking, I just don't think that's important. I think that deep down, there's only so much you can address in one season. And I think that deep down they knew, and they said, having a bad kicker is perfect, because we could still get the confidence if we played well enough to win, but hopefully you'll get a few extra double, L's, and get a better draft pick to continue the rebuild.
Alan says there are 5 first-round kickers ever. So 𝐒𝐿𝐵, he said Charlie 𝐒𝐿𝐫 was a kicker in 1966 in the first round, and then Ray Guy was a punter in the first round, which still qualifies as a kicker.
Wow, Ray Guy.
Tony 𝐿𝐶endejas is another one that he threw in there. Then Alan says no Jet content creator running back. You said Blewett. Blewett's our running back.
Yeah, Blewett. We got Blewett.
Blewett's a cop. He run people over. Did you ever see the video of him just bodying a dude? He was in the right. It was like a good cop video, and he just boom, puts this dude on a wall. Oh, really, really good. He texts me. He goes, "Dude, I went viral." Just I think I had well over 100,000 views, if I'm not mistaken. It was a fun one to watch. What else are we talking about? Rico says, how many times have the Ravens won games specifically because of Justin Tucker? Kickers are like insurance. You don't think about it too often until you really need it. Yeah, no, 100%. Like we absolutely love having a good kicker, but I think what we were trying to argue is that when your team is not ready to win games right now, not having a kicker isn't necessarily the worst. It's like one of those easy positions that a GM could flub up and like get himself a few higher draft picks because you inevitably wind up losing a few games because you miss kicks or something like that.
Yeah, this is the year we really need Greg the Leg to be the man. Like this is the
Yes.
year we're going to be
Yep.
in big games. We're going to need him to kick those field goals.
100%. Ray Guy was a top tier punter. Says Gohan angered. Clancy says Ryan, sweet jersey, supposed to finally get mine tomorrow. Same one. Yeah, this came in the mail. I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago. And I go into my email. I'm like, man, I ordered that helmet, which is right back there. Got the jersey. And I was like, where's my Jets draft hat? I was like, this is ridiculous. So I look at the tracking. It was supposed to get delivered a month ago. So I was like, this is stupid. And I was like, let's drill down a little bit deeper. I reach out to Jet Shop or Fanatics or whoever it is that takes care of that. And I was like, hey, like, it says it's still, like, in shipping. Like, what's going on? They're like, oh, they're sold out now. So yours is probably lost in the mail. So we're just going to refund your money and give you a 25% coupon code. But, like, you can't get the hat. And I was like, damn it. I really wanted that hat. I was so bummed. So no draft hat for Ryan, unfortunately. But
no draft hat for Ryan. I have my last year.
It is.
I have my last year's draft hat. Yeah, my draft hat.
Let's go. Jeremy, I didn't get your thoughts about the schedule. So I want to get your thoughts a little bit here. Guys, you can let us know your thoughts on the schedule. We'll pull up comments as you guys come up with stuff that I find interesting. I'll throw it up here. But just some of your thoughts. The schedule comes out. We got this early by way of Mr. Matt O'Leary. So if you guys do not follow us on all social media, make sure you do because we got some inside information.
That was crazy.
O'Leary got it spot on. The only thing that was different was his source had the Miami games flip-flopped. He had the home game first and the away game to end the season. And everyone was like, man, this sucks. We got 2 away games to start and 2 away games to end. This is a rough way to go. And then finding out that final Miami game is going to be a Jet home game. Oh, the Fins coming up to MetLife in January, where they have not beat a team with a winning record in sub-45-degree weather. I am all about it. And it's a flex game, too, because we got the 2 Thursday, we got the 2 Sunday, we got the 2 Monday, we got the standalone London, and then that final Week 18 game could get flexed into primetime. So, like, kind of cool from, like, a national spotlight perspective, but at the same time, I feel so bad for the season ticket holders. And, like, Jet fans in general that want to play and watch 1 o'clock games, young fathers, or not even just young fathers, just fathers in general that want to bond with their kid. Like, my kids are asleep by 7. Like, I was hoping to expose them to a little bit more than whatever. Like, we're going to we have 1 p.m. home game. That's the Bronco game until December. That's insane.
It's insane.
What are your thoughts on the schedule?
I hate that part of it. Doing the show with Green Bean and reacting to the games, I prefer like a routine, a structure, because that fits into my life. It's like my wife knows 10 o'clock to 1:30 on Sundays, I'm doing the Jet game. This is going to be, it's all going to be messed up. And, it's an interference. It's an inconvenience. I'm not so worried about the team as I'm just disappointed with I just hate it, man. I hate not having a game on Sunday. I hate waiting into the evening, for a game to happen. I hate that Thursday games are never about the 2 teams. They're like, it's like a joke. It's like it doesn't even feel like a real game because neither team has had time to really prepare. It feels like a vanilla game. I don't like it, but I'm glad we're getting it all over with early and that we could lock in for the last 8 games,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I wish they would add a second bye before they add an 18th game onto the schedule. Like, for me, there's no reason to not figure out a way to have every Thursday night game come from teams that just had a bye week prior. Then no one is playing on short rest aside from a Monday to a Sunday or a Sunday to a Saturday, like later in the season and that sort of stuff. But like, super, super frustrating. Rico comes in. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Rico. Let's get this in front of this image. Says, Ryan and Jeremy, what non-division games are you really intrigued by? I don't know why, but I feel like the Rams game is going to be a really exciting one. So let's take a look. What non-division games? Obviously, the first one's an interesting one because it's kind of a litmus test while we're not at full strength or at full chemistry yet. If the Jets can hang with the 49ers, I'm going to feel pretty good moving forward. Like, even if we wind up losing that game, which I in my own mind, I have penciled in as a loss. But outside of that, I do really like the Rams, like Rico is saying. I think the Rams is a fun one. I would also throw in not the day of the week that I love, but the Texans game is another interesting one I'd like to see because they weren't at full strength when we played them last year. We obviously were not at full strength last year, but they're an up-and-coming team, and we're like what feels like an established team once the quarterback gets back in there. What about you? What non-conference game are you kind of like, or not non-conference, non-division game are you looking at here?
Well, I agree with you on the Niners. If that game, I want to win it. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we want to win it. But if we play well enough that game comes down to the wire, if it's one of those, 50-50, comes down to the last bit, no matter what, we walk away a winner because that's a statement for the Jets, especially with so many new players. But I'm looking forward to Seattle because if it's Geno Smith, I'm looking forward to get some revenge, against last time. There's no Pete Carroll there anymore. I think that they're coming to us instead of us having to go there. I'm ready to see the Jets tear apart the Seahawks like they used to do when I was a little kid.
So this is like the former Jet quarterback reunion tour. You got Zach with Denver, you got Sam with Minnesota, you got Geno with Seattle. Is Mike White still with Miami? Like, could there be a potential situation where we're at the end of the season, Tua gets hurt and Mike White's coming in, or is Mike White no longer with Miami? I did not follow him this offseason.
I don't know. I didn't hear about him going anywhere else, but he had a 1-year contract though last year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Blitzkrieg says no. I think it was a 2-year contract. I'm almost positive it was.
Oh,
because I feel like I was surprised to see him get the 2 years. But Blitzkrieg says he's in Miami as a backup, so that's like. That feels like it could very well happen.
We could see him twice because we start playing them so late in the year. Yeah, so.
Blitzkrieg says, I want to go to Miami, but no idea how to plan it. I've been to Miami Stadium. It's pretty cool. I do have cousins down in Fort Lauderdale, so I was able to stay with them. And then I don't know how far that is from the stadium. I don't remember. I did this it's got to be close to 10 years ago now that we did this. Fun trip.
I would, yeah.
I would enjoy it. There was part of me that was like, final game of the season going down to Miami. Like, I would do that. But I'm like, I think I'm more likely to go to the Miami home game in January for us, because I feel like that could be like the division winner, and I could get rowdy. It's gonna be cold as hell, but like that would be a fun game to get up for, especially if the Jets are like chugging along, heading into the bye week.
I went to the Super Bowl week in Miami in 1994. It was San Francisco Chargers. And it's actually, back then it was pretty cool. Miami Beach, just all these motels. And we were young guys, so we just found this dump motel along the beach. And everything is a reasonable drive. You probably take an Uber to the stadium. I remember the drive wasn't too bad. So it's pretty easy to plan. Just get a place to stay, and you're good.
Ricky says, thank you for doing a show. Been sitting here working on a logo design for hours, and I can't even see straight. I needed a break. Perfect timing. Ricky, what kind of logo are you working on? That's what I'm interested in. Curious. We're glad you're hanging out with us. Gohan says, I looked into it. The longest field goal kicked is actually 69 yards by a college kicker in 1976. Wow. I feel like Janikowski could have set the record at like 70 plus. Like, if they really I know they tried to give it to him a few times, like late in games where it's like hey, let's see if he could do it type situation. I wish we could see like some sort of skills competition that would just be like the best kickers in the league. Like, yeah, just try to like kick it as far as you can, like instead of being in a game scenario. Because you start getting to a point where it's like, well, if I miss this, it's a much shorter field. At 70 yards, you're kicking that from the 40. Is that right? No, further back? No, it's the 40 because it's 10 yards 40, into the end zone. That's wild.
70, yeah.
That's insane. Because now all of a sudden, if you miss that, that is a 50-yard field goal the opposite direction. Well, 57-yard field goal the opposite direction. Crazy.
I feel like we've seen field goals in the high 50s where I mean, you probably will agree that you think to yourself that would have went 70.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah,
Where it splits the net, it's still
it
got some
hits
height.
halfway up like the net, and it's like 58 yards, 60 yards. You're like, how far could that have been? I like that they now have the technology to be able to say, like, hey, that would have been good from X distance, Y distance. I don't know which channel does that all the time, but I see it occasionally. I see Hype has 2 super chats in there. I want to throw this one up first. He says, Mike White signed a 2-year, $8 million contract last year. And then he also says, hot take, Irv Charles is going to be on roster. He's been highlighted numerous times working out with Quincy, doing route running drills with coaches. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel like Irv Charles probably deserves that spot over. Like, if you had to come down to wide receivers, I think I'm more likely to cut Brownlee than I am to cut Irv Charles. And that's in the event that you wanted to keep 6 instead of 7 wide receivers. I think a lot of it has to do with how many offensive linemen they ultimately decide to keep. Do they want to keep 9 like they did last year? Do they want to add 10 like Douglas said he wanted to at the end of the season? Or was that just like a hindsight type thing? Do they want to carry a third quarterback? Does that, if they only carry 2, does that allow them to carry the extra wide receiver? Isaiah Oliver, like you brought up earlier, if he's going to wind up replacing a Hardy or someone like that on special teams and also replacing Guidry in the slot, now all of a sudden you're saving yourself a roster spot right there as well. You see any way Irv Charles is not on the roster, Jeremy?
Well, you never know. Travis might end up on the IR. Right? If he's not healthy in camp, I mean, they fudge that anyway, but they might not be planning to have him active. They might be planning to have him where they have
Irv
no intention
Charles.
of using him anyway.
Irv Charles.
Huh?
Irv Charles,
no,
not
I mean,
Jordan Travis.
No. I'm sorry. I meant like the young quarterback that we drafted.
I understand that. I asked you, do you think Irv Charles is going to make the roster?
Right. No, but I think that's how he would, because we would have go with 7. We can go with 7 wide receivers if we put the quarterback on IR. Right. It gives us the extra roster spot. But
Jeremy, where did you hear that IR plan?
I think we've been talking about it, right?
We have for a very long time.
I'm not going to say I loved it first, but I definitely probably heard it from you first and fell in love with the idea.
I've been on that for a while. I've been a big proponent of that. Zachary comes and says, did you guys see the Tua's camp is asking for 5 years, $253 million? Please sign him to that. That would be over $50 million a year. Honestly, I think that's what the going price is for a franchise quarterback, because the option is if Tua walks, you're either paying that now, you're paying a higher premium after, or you're looking for another quarterback. And as a Jet fan, I can tell you, I hope you pay him that a lot of money, because I don't think he's worth that much money. But if I had Tua, after every quarterback that we've had to put up with for the last forever, I would probably pay him that, unfortunately. Like that, I don't think he's worth it, but most quarterbacks, when they get paid their contract, are not worth the money, like the deal they're signing. They're just the next guy up, and that's just how contracts work. What are your thought processes? Now, this is obviously just a rumor. There's no like sourcing behind that from what Zachary says a little bit later down in there. What do you think about Tua, and how much money do you think he's going to get?
No, that looks accurate of what they have no choice to do. I think if I'm Miami, I'm not fighting over the amount of money he makes per year, because let's face it, he makes their team very good as far as winning percentage, no matter what anybody feels about him, right? So what they probably want to do is guarantee as little of that as possible. So I don't know what they'll get away with, but if they did, let's say, because that could easily be $200 million guaranteed 4 years, or it could be $140 million guaranteed, and it's just 3 years, which is a big difference when you're talking about a guy that's a tackle away from a concussion that would end his career. So for me, I think that they're going to be stuck paying him about $50 million. That's not the issue. I think it's about the guaranteed money, where the hardest part of that negotiation is going to be.
Yeah, it's almost like Revis signed an interesting deal when he went to Tampa Bay. It was like, you're going to get paid handsomely. I think it was like $16 million a year, if I remember correctly. And as long as you're on the roster, you're guaranteed that money. And it was like 1 year on the roster, then cut the next year because they new regime change or whatever. But yeah, the guaranteed money is going to be an interesting one for Tua. Rico says, I hope the snow is coming down that first Finns game. So that's December 8th. That would be early. It could happen. We've had snow as early as Halloween, but that would still be early. See Tua throw ducks and McDaniel's in a bad mood because his liquid in his vape pen froze. I think you're more likely to see that in January for the home game as opposed to the first Finns game. The first Finns game is a road game. So I guess obviously you're not going to see snow down in Miami. Ricky says it's a logo for a content creator actually for an upcoming live stream. Oh, very cool, Richie.
Nice.
Ricky. I said Richie. Didn't mean that. Clancy says Brownlee already turning heads again at camp. No, that's great. I'm about it. If we're going to keep 7, I like Brownlee a lot. I think if we don't keep 7, he feels... I mean, honestly, I like Brownlee more than I like Gibson. I just don't think we have a backup for Corley, where I feel like Lazard almost pushes Brownlee out, unfortunately. Is that how you would maybe...
Lazard
I
can't
feel
be
like
used in the
because
slot.
we have Lazard, I would like to get rid of Lazard instead of getting rid of Brownlee, on the contract. But Lazard's contract we're locked into.
We're locked into, but how many snaps did Lazard take? I want to look into when he was with Rodgers in Green Bay, how many snaps he took at slot, Lazard. Because I think they used
slot.
him as a big slot.
They did. So maybe he's there's the argument, right? Like if he's the big slot, that would Corley be a big slot, even though he's height-wise a little bit smaller? Or do you consider Lazard more of maybe that outside blocking presence? I don't know. I like Brownlee. I hope we keep him around. It'd be nice to kind of see that play out.
I would love to keep him around. I mean, he's definitely a guy that could develop into a real guy, for real. And I'm not saying star, but if he goes into being a solid WR2, WR3 even, at no cost because you found him undrafted free agent, it's valuable to fill roles like that.
100%. Rico says if Daniel Jones can get $40 million a year, Tua can get 50. That's a really good point. Now, Daniel Jones did kind of force the hand because they needed to use their franchise tag for Barkley. So they paid Jones the $40 million a year. Tua, I don't know if Miami is in that same boat. Do they have someone that's going to be hitting free agency that's so valuable that they want to use their tag on that other person as opposed to Tua? I would almost rather tag Tua 2 years in a row based on his health and then have to pay him a fortune later on. I don't know. Would you sign Tua or maybe he just holds out at that point if he's not signed? I feel like that's too much money.
I mean, if he doesn't hold out, that would be the best scenario for them because you're paying him year by year. That's kind of what we wanted to do. That's what we wanted to do with Marcus May when he was asking for all that money. Me and Green Bean kept talking about it. It makes no sense. You could for that money, you could literally franchise him twice and get him for the same amount of money. So why would you put any guarantees in? And obviously, it ended up being the smartest thing we ever did with Marcus May, but. Yeah, if I'm Miami, I'm definitely going to use that logic. I'm going to say, hell, man, what does it cost to just franchise?
Yeah, that's probably the right move, at least from a guaranteed money perspective, too. The only thing is you wind up having that fat quarterback contract for a year. So if you're tight against the cap, it's a fully guaranteed contract, all hitting in that 1 year. You can't do the cap maneuvering around where you say, this guy's getting a $253 million deal, but his cap hit's only going to be $20 million. That doesn't happen with the franchise tag when you do it that way.
You see, and that was the weakness of Miami is that, we had potential and we were growing as a team with draft picks and young guys and not horrendous contracts. What people forget is they had the cheap quarterback for all those years and they bought all these players. Now they're going to have the problem of we have to pay the quarterback. So we can't have a team that relies all on these high price guys.
Oh, for sure. Waddle's going to need a new contract. I don't think I have to look at his deal. I don't know if he's done after this year because his contract gets enormous. So he's either going to another team or they're going to have to restructure that contract that he's on. Hype comes in and says, I also don't know why Corey Davis still hasn't been reinstated by the NFL to become a free agent. Is it the Jets holding it up or the NFL? Just a thought. I don't think the Jets, based on like everything that I've seen the Jets do from like, trading players or releasing players or sending players to teams that they would like to go to, I don't think the Jets would hold that over Corey Davis's head and prevent him from being reinstated. I also feel like the ship has kind of sailed on Corey Davis. Like if he really wanted to play, I think last year in a contract year with Aaron Rodgers would have been that time. Now, I don't know what he could have possibly had going on like family-wise. Maybe there was just something that prevented him from being able to do that. I would love to get Corey Davis back. If we could have Corey Davis back and bump Lazard down one extra spot, I'm 100% on board. I think the Corey Davis train has left the station. Where do you fall on that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're likely right. I mean, the only other scenario that I can imagine is he thought he was going to get a certain amount of money, and it didn't happen. Like he was just way off on what he thought he was going to get. Maybe he thought he was going to come in and have somebody willing to pay him 10 to 12 million, and he found out that nobody's willing to go over 4 million because you've been gone over a year and you didn't really perform up to your last contract. Like how many people did he excite really in his years with the Jets? He was injured a lot. So I guess that's the only other alternative possibility is that he wants to play, but he wants way too much money, But I think it's more likely you're right. I think that he probably just doesn't have the desire to play.
Brian comes in with a super chat. Thank you so much. Says, do you see Xavier Gibson fixing his fumble issue? If not, then I don't want him. Look, I was a little surprised Gibson made the team last year because of how frequently we saw him and Hardman fumble in camp. And I thought just because Hardman was the free agent, they would let him kind of figure it out. And the fact that they kept him, Gibson that is, kind of surprised me. I hope he fixes it. I like him. He's a fun kid to watch. He's really fast, explosive. I hope he fixes the fumbling issues because if you can't hold on to the ball, I don't want you back there for punt returns. I want to be able to feel confident that the guy that's at least calling the fair catch is going to catch the ball. Like with Gibson, there were times I was like, I just hope he doesn't run underneath it. Like just go off to the side. See where that ball goes. If it's going to land on the 10, fine. I'd rather get the ball on the 10 than give it to them on the 20.
Yeah, look, it was scary. Every punt was scary to him. Like it got to a point where I think during a game we were both yelling, "Don't field it." We were just saying, "Let them punt the ball and don't field it." That's how bad it got. So I don't know. I mean, he has to turn it around. I don't know if that was, because nobody knows he's an undrafted free agent. Nobody really follows his college career. We don't know if he had a history of that or not. It could have been nerves, but we can't have it. Like you can't play in fear that you can't play with a guy you can't trust returning 100%. Punts.
Hype follows this up with Davis can't even negotiate with a team he isn't a free agent. So I guess if he was released by the Jets, I'm almost positive. So I guess he's just got to be reinstated to become the free agent.
I thought he had permission to negotiate. I could be wrong. I thought that he.
I don't know.
It may have been the Jets. I think the Jets gave him permission to negotiate.
Oh, so maybe he's still like. Do we kind of own his right? Like, does a contract toll when you don't play?
I think that you can't do that. You can't quit a team in the last year. Oh no, because we didn't.
I think you can.
Because we accepted it by not having to pay him. So may have freed him up. That may have freed him up.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I thought that I had remembered something where the Jets, and I'm probably so wrong, but for some reason it's in my head that we did a really cool thing, like the right thing by him, and said talk to other teams. But maybe that was just the NFL. I thought for sure he was allowed to talk to teams though.
I feel like that does sound right. I feel like I heard that at some point. Like the Jets were like allowed him to explore other options or other opportunities. And I think I just assumed he was a free agent at that point, or that maybe he could come back. Eddie says Jets released him. So yeah, I guess it's just being reinstated at that point then. So I guess if the Jets did release him, maybe he was going to get reinstated prior to the start of or not reinstated, but I think he applied to be reinstated before the start of the new league year. And maybe that's why he was under contract with us. He was allowed to negotiate. And then now that he was released from our, new year, but he's not reinstated, maybe that's something that's going on. I have no idea. No idea.
But he didn't do anything wrong to not be reinstated, right? I mean, like it's hard to believe that he's stuck and not able to negotiate with teams. Why doesn't he just get himself reinstated? He didn't do anything wrong. There was no break of code of conduct.
Yeah, it's an odd situation. Drum says, Ryan, you too, Jeremy, should rock a mustache for the next stream. No. If we win the Super Bowl, I'll go mustache. I will, or if we go on like some sort of crazy run, like leading into the playoffs next year, like if the mustache is working, I'll just keep the mustache going. But I don't really want to do that. I look weird with a mustache. Weiland says, Ryan, are you a nervous pacer, quiet demeanor, or angry person when watching Jet games in the comfort of your lair? So I don't watch many games in my office. A lot of times I'll watch them downstairs on the bigger TV. And it depends what I'm doing sometimes. And it depends how much I'm invested into it. Cause once Rodgers got hurt last year, it was very hard to stay like emotionally connected to like where the Jets were. Like my season was over the first week of the season. Like that's kind of how my mindset operated. So, and I do the every throw video. So I'm editing those while the game's still going on a lot of times. I would say in an ideal situation when the Jets are good and I'm actively like excited for shit that's going on the TV, I would say I am a little bit of a nervous pacer. I will sometimes get up and like put my hands behind my head and give it a few paces back and forth. I'm definitely not quiet. I wouldn't consider myself an angry person. I would say vocal, nervous pacer, somewhere in that realm where I'll yell at the TV, not angry, but just like excitement. What kind of fan are you, Jeremy? Obviously, we see you with the game streams. We've done a few streams together.
I think most people would say that watch me would say that's why they call me chaos, because you don't know which it's going to be. I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous. But I've been angry and I've been quiet where I just shut down, and I've been just negative. I go into like what Green Bean calls toilet bowl land.
Greg says, Ryan, get a mohawk. I've had a mohawk numerous times. I have not had it in my professional career, but like going through high school and like college, I've done and even probably after college, I've done mohawks like a lot of times. Like, oh yeah, not like bicked on the sides, but like I'll go down to like probably, I don't know if it would be a 2 on a buzzer, like a quarter inch. And then I'll keep this like a middle stripe longer. And I've had it like pretty tall. I've been like up to there as far as like mohawk goes. I would do that again. Why not? If I'm not doing professional things. If I have to do stuff like at work, they'd be like, Ryan, you can't do that. We didn't hire you with a mohawk. You can't have a mohawk right now.
I know there are certain things you just don't have the luxury to do. You want a job.
Wild Wave says, the Commanders game is the only time you will see Ryan angry. Costed us Marvin Harrison Jr. Dude, I don't get like really angry. I was pissed after that Commanders game. That game and the Jaguars game when we lost, or not Jaguars game, sorry, the Rams game when we lost Trevor Lawrence. When that happened, I fucking blew my stack. I was so mad. And like I got on Jacksonville radio. They're like, this poor bastard up in New Jersey is like distraught. He's so upset that the Jets lost Trevor Lawrence. I was like, dude, there's like certain things, and it's never a guarantee. But like, imagine owning the number 2 pick in the draft this past year, and all these teams that were trying to get up. You're probably getting 3 first-round picks realistically from a team to get up to number 3 or 2. Like, the Raiders would have given it up to go get Jaden Daniels, 100%. We probably would have got Devontae Adams and 3 firsts, and we would be sitting at fucking pick 12 or 13 or whatever pick they were at, and we'd still get Olu Fashanu, and you'd get like, so when people are upset with me for being upset at that game. That's why.
Yeah, there are times where I really wonder about the organization, because other organizations have figured that out, without question. We've seen it.
Mm.
And I told my wife when we beat the Rams that day, I was screaming. She goes, "I don't understand. You won." She was so confused. And I said, "Yeah, but we just threw away the future. We had it. We had it."
Dude, the only thing that makes me feel better about that game is because I thought it was over. I don't know if it was the week or two before when the Raiders beat us on that final Hail Mary, to Ruggs or whatever. I was working at the tree farm. I started doing the airplane. I'm running around. I was like, we lost. We still have a shot. Like, I'm jumping up and down excited. It's like so dumb. And I know fans hate rooting for losses, but man, that was probably the best I had felt for that entire season, followed up by immediately the following week or the week after that, whatever it was. Winning that Jaguar game was awful. It was so bad. Yeah. Man, we are at the end of our show right now. Jeremy, any last words for our little panel here?
I guess everybody is asking all these questions about the roster, so I guess that's what we need to focus on moving forward. Who's going to be the final 53? I'll tell you what, though, no matter how much you argue with each other, we see that happen in Jets Nation all the time. Just remember, it's a good problem to have.
Boys and girls, make sure you hit that like button if you're hanging out with us. Get us over 100 likes before you dip on out of here. I appreciate that we had nearly 200 people in here on a Monday in late May. Kind of nice. Not the normal time either. We were so Dom C. I gotta throw Dom C. under the bus right now. He goes, "Oh, Ryan, do you think you could bump it back from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm all about it. Sure. I got a little extra time to relax." And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. All-star kid, baseball. He's awesome. Just taking a little bit longer." And then he's just 2 minutes before the show, "Hey, I need someone to step in." I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing the show with Egghead now." It's totally fine. I like hanging out with you. It's all right.
Likewise.
Dom, you're replaced. No, I'm kidding. I love you, Dom. We'll see you next week. Boys and girls, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun. This is Jets Talk, signing off. Jets.